We're getting all ready for Halloween around our house. Anne's working on her costume. And in my last video, you saw how I used some of my papers. Let's learn how to make a really handy little dish for your desk for all kinds of purposes. And let's make a beautiful, fun, simple decoration. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you to those of you who have been longtime subscribers and supported my channel. I really appreciate it. And if this is your first time with us, I hope you enjoy this video and I hope that you'll subscribe so that you can do some things with us. In my last video, I showed you some of these fun Halloween papers that I made on my computer using Google Images and a Word document. And I showed you some of the things that I made with these papers, some little Halloween based skinny notebooks. And I'm loving these. I wanted to do more of a pastel Halloween this year. And so I was having a hard time finding what I needed. So I went ahead and made it. And then we're going to use that paper to make a really fun, easy, pretty fall or Halloween decoration. And of course, this can be adapted for any holiday, any person, all kinds of reasons. And so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is show you some of these papers, and these are actually really easy to make, and of course it's a way that you can just sort of get your own paper and get the colors and things you want. And I am going to use one of these papers to apply to the front of this cute pumpkin, and I got this pumpkin at Target this year, and I think it was $5. And so I really like the wood look. So I'm going to leave that part. But of course you could paint it. And then at different times of years, you'll find different wood blanks like this. And so you can use this idea for any holiday. So once you have the paper, you need to take your blank and figure out which paper will fit. And this will. And I made this one. This is the one I really wanted to use. And so I made sure I kept adding on to the paper until I had a width that would cover this entire blank. And so just as a reminder about storing these papers, these are all of my Halloween papers, and I keep them in these page protectors. These are actually called project sleeves. And of course, I'll link everything down below that I use. And so I have all of my Halloween papers just in that sleeve. And so that it's easy to find, I actually store this in my slot where I keep all of my orange papers, because that's where I'd probably go for Halloween anyway. I could do black or, you know, something like that. But I know my Halloween papers are going to be in the section with my orange papers. So that's just such a handy way to store that. Okay, so let's get started. Today I'm going to use some Mod Podge, and I have these plates. I really love these. This is a great idea for just to keep at your desk, because these are easily washed and can be used for so many things. I got these at the Dollar Tree quite a while ago, and they came with a stand on them like this. And I didn't want to use them that way. And so what I did is I went ahead and used my scraper, and I just pulled off that stand. And then once that's off, you end up with that. And so I went ahead and cleaned it up as best I could, but I wasn't too worried about the glue that was left on there. And then I got my circle dies, my nesting circle dies, and I just went through and tried different sizes to see which would fit. And I decided to go with that largest size, because what I don't want is for this to be sticking to other things if that glue gets warm, or to scratch my table or my glass surfaces. So my goal is to put a backing on that so that it is smooth and soft and doesn't ruin any surfaces. And then you have a choice of what you want to place on the back. So your options are, you could use a faux leather, and then you would apply that using a glue gun. That's one option. There's also, this is available often at the dollar store. This is just an adhesive cork sheet, and so that cork kind of is a way to put a soft thing on the back. What I'm using is some sticky back craft foam, and you can use black, white, any color. I'm going to use this piece of white that I have, and all of these things can be run through your die cut machines. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to just cut a bit off here, so this is a little smaller. And I do really like this sticky back craft foam. I use it periodically for all kinds of interesting things. So I'm going to just run it through. I'm going to see if it'll go through like that or if it's too thick. Oh yeah, so that goes through pretty easily. Because it's a thicker material, I'm going to go both directions. And then let's see how that comes out. And on my channel, I do try to periodically, as I'm doing a video about a craft or a sewing project or cooking, I do try to also share storage and ideas like this for making your space work better for you. So now I'm just peeling off that backing, and with that sticky on there, I can just center that right there and push that down. And then I have a soft backing that won't scratch my tables, and it kind of keeps it from sliding. So I actually did 2 of these. And so I love them. If I'm using some kind of like sequins or little tiny beads or something for shaker cards, I can put those in here to corral them. As I'm using different adhesives, for example, the sticky back adhesives that I like to use quite a bit, I can put spare pieces there, and then when I'm all done, I can just put them into my place where I store all of my adhesives. But what I'm going to use this for today is to put in my Mod Podge, and I like that because these are glass, ceramic or something, and so I can use that for something like that and then just wash it out and it's good to go again. Okay, so let's get things cleared up, and then let's get busy on our project. Alrighty, so let's get started. I'm going to apply Mod Podge to my wood. And so I'm going to just pour some of it onto here. And so it looks like my Mod Podge might be getting a little bit old. And so I'm just going to brush it on, and I don't want it to go over the edge. So I'm just going to keep brushing from the center out rather than this way, so I don't get a big buildup on that edge. And you want a generous coverage. I remember when Mod Podge first came out. I mean, that has been years, and we loved it, and we made all kinds of projects. We glued paper to paper, paper to wood. We did all kinds of things, and we would put our little creations into a frame, and oh, you know, it was such fun, and you can kind of create this texture. I made a birthday present for my dad with pictures of adventurous people and wrote on it and about, you know, that Dad was such an adventurous person. So you want a good coverage. And then I'm going to go ahead and just stand up here and place my paper so that I can make sure, and I'm feeling underneath to make sure it's all covered. And then I'm just going to push that down like this. And oops, let's get that out of there and get that so it is nicely adhered. So it'll slide a little bit right now while it's wet. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my scraper and get that all scraped down, get any wrinkles or bubbles out of it, because, you know, paper, when it is damp, it can wrinkle. And so I'm just going to be real careful. I'm not pushing too hard because this paper is only copy paper thick, and I don't want it to rip. Okay, so now that that's down, now I can go on. Now, let me just say, if you're going to do a Mod Podge thing like this, I do recommend thinner paper. If you do really thick cardstock, it's hard to get it to adhere well. And so, but this way, you can get a nice coverage, and you see how it kind of is even bending in, and it's kind of taking on the shape of that pumpkin because the paper is thin enough to do that. So I'm going to let that set for just a minute, and I'll be right back and we'll finish this up. All right, so I'm going to bring in my cutting mat. It's a self-healing mat. And so this, I think, is about ready to go. I can still feel it is still slightly damp. But what I'm going to do is just flip this over, and I'm going to get my Cricut True Control knife. I really like this because I like the grip. And I am just going to very carefully go around the outside edge of that shape and trim it off. And you can kind of pull it up as you go and make sure that's coming up. Now, another way you can do this, if you don't have Mod Podge and you don't want to wait the time for that to kind of set, is you can use one of my favorite products, the double-sided adhesive from Altenew, or a lot of other companies have adhesives like that. Okay, so we've got all that off. Let's flip that over and then see. Now I want to go through and very carefully check my edges. Sometimes we get little kind of furry things, and we can go back and of course cut from this side. On the corners, that's or where it changes directions, those are the hardest parts to get just right. So there we go. I really like how that looks. Back in the day, I probably would have added Mod Podge to the top of this to give it a little bit of a texture. And you can brush it in such a way that it almost looks like brush strokes. I really kind of like this rustic look. I'm real happy with how this is looking like this. During the summer, I went to a craft store that was closing. And so I was able to get some really pretty ribbon for really inexpensively. And so let's see. I love the green. I don't know, is it going to be too big? Let's try it. So let's add a big impressive bow, because I feel like this is pretty, even though the paper is busy, the overall item is pretty simple. So I want to bring in something to just jazz it up and add that extra sort of zazing to my project. I'm going to fold that in around the top because I don't want it to completely hide the stem. And then let's see what we can do with this. I'll get this over here. So when I'm tying this part of the bow, I'll keep my ribbon folded, but now let's go bigger and just make it more impressive. I've been noticing a sort of a retro look for Halloween the last few years, and I just love it. Some of my favorite books growing up were about Halloween, and I just love the look of some of those retro Halloween books. I think they're so pretty and so much fun. Okay. Now, I don't want the bow to completely cover this, so I think I'm going to keep the bow small like that. And then what I'm going to do is just create a pretty dovetail. I'm going to fold it in half and just cut it up towards the center. And then I'm going to do the same with this, trying to get them somewhat even. There. Okay. Boy, I really like that ribbon. And it's fun when you're at the end of a season or when something's going out of business. It's fun to go and look ahead, kind of plan for what might be coming, and buy things that bring you joy, because you know if they bring you joy, when you go to use them to make a craft, you're going to enjoy that craft that much more. There we go. I love it. I think that is so pretty, so fun, and just jumps out and says Halloween. Of course, you could do this with just a fall harvest paper, an apple at the beginning of school. The paper you can use and the options are just enormous. So there's our project for today. I hope that you liked that. I hope you'll try doing it's so simple, so easy. And if you are a business person, that is something that you also could very easily price cost. It takes so little time that you could possibly use that to make some money at a craft fair or an Etsy shop. And so be sure to subscribe, because in the future I am going to show you how to cost out those items so that you can be sure you're making a profit. So I hope you'll give a simple project like that a try. I hope you'll subscribe, and be sure to join me next time as I use more of my homemade papers for Halloween.